evening. Thanks for joining us. It's supposed to be an open conversation. We prepare a couple of topics. There will be a, let's say, freestyle in which we can share from our experience some ideas in terms of, I don't know, maybe one topic might be real challenges that banks and fintechs encounter mm, recently. And then there is another topic with AI adoption in banking and fintech, some aspects related to architecture design. And obviously, at the end, if there will be other question, we're more than happy to answer and to elaborate. I'm joining today by Dmitry Lvov, Head of Payments and Services at FinOn Technology. I'm from Oceanobe Technology. We can talk in more details about um, what our companies are doing and what we're dealing on daily basis, what challenging are we facing. Um,
Yeah,
Dimitri, thank
sure.
you for joining to our invitation. I think we can jump directly in what do you think or what we think being real challenges in banking and fintech, and we can talk about our activities, what our delivery teams are doing, and what we're facing, let's say, in the last period of time.
Yeah,
What do you think?
100%. Thanks for having me in this conversation. Yeah, as you said, like I think those topics are pretty interesting for people to actually hear what the industry is thinking. Like, and we are representatives of our industry at some point. So yeah, thank you, Robert. Thank you guys for having me as a guest. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you can say a bit on what FinOn is doing, and somehow to jump directly to the first topic that we consider being interesting in terms of real challenges between, banks and fintechs. And obviously, we're talking about software development, software engineering most of the time. But if there are any larger aspects, you can um,
Highlight, yeah.
elaborate.
Sure. Yeah, so we at FinTech, we are at FinOn Technology, a FinTech vendor, so UAE-based company, and we provide payment infrastructure projects like payment gateways, 3D secure systems, orchestration, integration with banks and providers, and all the things around transaction processing and operational reliability. So that's why, and we're serving mainly like any types of entities, like from small, I know, like PayFacs, PSPs, IPSPs to huge banks, processors, and stuff like that. So that's why, yeah, there are some different approaches when you work, I know, like from smaller customer to a bigger one. What's Oceanobe's main field of work right now and like in the past couple of years?
So, about us, we are globally software engineering consultancies that specialize in delivering a piece from idea to production. We have a quite good track records of delivering outstanding results, I would say, for clients across payments and broader financial services industry, especially banks. We get the chance to work with a couple of larger banks in Europe. And yeah, we are lucky enough to be involved in different type of labs or initiatives in which we get the chance to cover quite a lot of vertical of business, from corporate lending, home banking for business, core banking, my advisory platform, market risk. So it's quite a large number of layers. And strict directly to this type of challenges that we're facing. I mean, this type of comparison between banks and fintechs. Uh, I think the one of the, in my opinion, one of the code which seems to be like a joke in banks. I think the approach sometimes might be like, okay, we maybe should wait another 6 months, 1 year to be sure that we are delivering this type of functionality. 99% sure that it's what was supposed to be delivered. While fintech might have this type of approach, okay, we need to go in the market to launch something, if possible, even next week, and then we can learn from feedback. It's a bit a different approach, but sure, once the fintechs grow up and they become a serious financial institution with all the regulation, I think things start to look more like a bank, and all these type of key challenges like scalability, consistency, regulatory seems to be quite critical, quite important. But usually this is I mean, from our experience, from what we saw, it's in banks, what we encounter sometime might be quite old legacy systems, software that was, I mean, functionality that or components that were designed 10 years, 20 years ago, with maybe programming languages a bit heavy, COBOL or quite heavy Oracle database with a lot of system integration. I mean, usually in banking, when we're thinking to large projects, enterprise projects, solution must align with the existing cores, with the regulatory flows, with legacy constraints, and architecture sometimes becomes about adaptation and isolation, and not necessarily building new, let's say, new feature, new functionality. While in fintech, you have this type of flexibility. It's yeah, when you're thinking to fintech, you think to nice technology, cloud first, microservices, all this type of Kubernetes, Kafka, things that usually in banks, I mean, you don't have this type of freedom to introduce or to upgrade new technology without offering, I don't know, backwards compatibility and this type of, um, I would say, kind of constraints.
So in your terms, like banks being rusty, yeah, and fintechs being agile. Uh, to some point, I can agree with that, but from what we can see, like in the market right now, probably not so strong with this approach, because we can see a lot of modern banks that are launching
Yeah.
and already launched, like, you can name some in Europe, like Revolut, new bank,
Yeah.
Plata in Mexico. Guys just created a bank from nothing in 4 years, and a half of which were just doing the paperwork. Yeah, so those examples showcase that, for me, that it's not so much about the type of license that you acquire from a central bank. Yeah, because you can be, I don't know, like a fintech, still licensed fintech. Yeah, so still you're doing with the central bank and so on. So it's not so much about the type of the license and ability to, I don't know, like provide credits to the consumers, or vice versa, like get their money and store in their accounts. It's more about the general approach. Yeah, even in fintechs, you can see some examples where, I don't know, like people are building fintech on some billing system which is from 1980s, and it was initially created for telco industry, like for to build stationary phone customers. And when you're building on something like this, on top of something like this, you anyway have some rustiness, by default. Like,
Yeah.
and again, like, okay, I'm a fintech. I want to produce the cards, Visa, Mastercard, whatever, and then you taking those services from the market. If you're taking them from the correct partner, correct technology provider, everything is smoothly. But again, there's a chance you can hit a rusty one. Yeah, the one who is using something from 1990s, 1985 or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and it's based on Oracle, stored procedures inside of it. No horizontal scalability. So for us, it's more about treating them as not in terms of the particular type of license that they acquired from the central bank, but rather their way, their approach, like how the management sees it. Yeah, do they have internal will to be modern, to be fast? That's and again, even an existing bank can transform himself by transforming their mindset in that part. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And those names that you already mentioned, and we can add even more. I think they somehow having this type of banking license like Revolut, they need to build all the capabilities that a traditional bank already had. So they succeed in a quite short period of time to implement almost everything um, that a traditional bank, all the functionality that they have in place.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's not always about only building something in house. Yeah,
Yeah,
any players on the market, no matter if those are fintechs, PSPs, or banks, they can actually, like take something that it was already made, build something in house, and like introduce correct uh, team of engineers to help them build or to help overview those things. Yeah, because yeah, so in the first place, it is about the mind, the mindset. But again, so if we are talking about the banks and the challenges, like this rustiness, yeah, it appeared not like today because they are old, from my point of view.
yeah,
It's more about the things how they maintain their knowledge. So starting from the documentation, yeah. If we're talking about some banking system or back office system, core banking, anything, if it is old, it doesn't mean it is bad. It is bad because people lost control of the things they own. Yeah, and nobody knows how to work with it. So it would produce. So it produces in the current flow. But if you want to plug something, enrich it, you need a proper documentation, a proper knowledge. Yeah, so the keeping the knowledge base in banks, or maybe even in pretty much any kind of company, sometimes becomes the real struggle from what we can see. Yeah, so if everything's in place, if you have documentation, if you have specialists, if knowledge transfer is happening, and it's not like, yeah, there was one guy who knew how the integration works, and now he left and like 7 years ago, and no one can touch it. So that's not a very good approach.
yeah, indeed, indeed. I totally agree. Um,
Well, what are the main challenges that you can see? Because yeah, we work in a bit different markets.
mhm.
Yeah, so on top of the, let's say, age of the system, are there some things that you see that change the behavior of the customers, like from banks to fintechs?
Well, from the Windows visibility that we had till now, I think from what we saw, I think when you try to build something from scratch, or and obviously we are talking about a payment system in banking, I think most of the people, or let's say engineering teams, are mostly focusing on technology, using the right technology, using the right frameworks, using the right programming language. But in reality, I think most of the projects, from my point of view, that fails because not because of technology, but because of some decision related to consistency, to security, I think it's quite important to have consistency, to have data integrity, all the systems to be up and running and available, and to avoid downtime and security and scalability. And if you don't pay attention to this, I think the cost of redesigning and re-implementation it's quite large, and we spend a lot of time trying to understand where a potential issue might be just because the audit was not well designed from the very beginning. So
Yeah,
so
that,
yeah,
that,
as you mentioned, is not only the technology uh, important, but all these aspects I think it's crucial.
yeah, that's absolutely true. So because when you have something already operational and can continue that needs to continue to operate, and you plug in some new functionality, it still should fall under the same rules. Yeah, we have a lot of regulatory in payments and banking in fintechs. Yeah, so it's like PCI, EMV code, central banks, local standards like PSD2 in Europe and stuff like that. But of course, those should be considered from the day one, not when the project is ready to launch and now like, oh, we did not get approval from this audit or this or this. And those, so some people I've seen in the industry, some people consider them, like as blockers, as bad guys, as showstoppers. Like we want to deliver this super cool feature, but they are not allowing us. But actually, like I've been in payments for 20 years. Yeah, yeah, this November it will be 20. So,
Mm.
and one of my first jobs was actually an ATM engineer. So we were replacing all pin pads because on the old pin pads, people could place, like things and capture your pin code when it was still magnetic stripe cards. So those are all of the requirements from PCI, EMV code, central banks. They're not coming from nothing. Yeah, they're coming from the decades and decades of history of people making mistakes and those mistakes causing more and more as the businesses are growing. Yeah, and so we in let's say in our company, in our field, we see those regulators more like partners that help businesses like banks or PSPs or
Yeah.
fintechs not to shoot their foot. Like they're pretending them from a childish mistakes that were already made, that someone already did. So those rules did not appear like from nothing. Yeah, someone already had an issue, data leakage, stolen cards, all those things, uh, and they're helping those businesses to protect themselves. And we, as vendors, as developers, we should be partners with them, helping to make not only like scalable, horizontally, vertically, feature rich systems, but also secure to protect the end consumers. That's
Yeah. But somehow we have in front of us a technology that seems to solve all these problems, right? I mean, we're talking about AI adoption in banks and fintech. Um, from what we saw, traditional banks and fintechs are utilizing AI to improve client experience, to reduce cost, and to deal with this type of risks that you are mentioning. And why not to generate new income? What do you think? What's the, I mean, from your project and your portfolio of clients, what's the AI adoption, and how do you feel and think this type of technology involvement in banks and fintech?
Yeah, it's hard to hide an elephant in the room. AI is everywhere. It is
Yeah,
AI everything. I don't know, like tomorrow it's gonna be AI cookies or something. So yeah, of course, everybody's running for it. Yeah, and we can see people talking about AI uh, everything when they even do not follow some best practices sometimes. Like, okay, for example, not something fancy, but having a Swagger or open API for integration, but they're saying we are AI first,
Yeah.
something, but still like integration is with a modern new XML, or I saw it 583, who is like 40 years old. Yeah, like
Yeah. Yeah.
Visa and MasterCard are still based on something that is 40 years old, and it's still in place and it's still working. And yeah, of course, there's a buzz about AI, everything. But what one good and let's say a very interesting example what we can see right now uh, is happening, and people like whole industry is trying to implement is AI decision making, for example, in orchestration. Yeah, so payment orchestration, because sometimes for PSPs who are in lots of countries or have a lot of providers and acquirers and so on, they're struggling to actually bring the human force, and they want to like enrich it with AI. And that's a very interesting story from the point in payments, we need to double check everything. Yeah, so in pretty much all the products you are implementing maker checker functionality, because we know that people can make mistakes. Yeah, so that's why we need some other people to actually help them mitigate those mistakes. And at the same time, we know that AI sometimes even hallucinates, not even makes mistakes, just makes something from nothing. And like in payments, it's a lot of data. Yeah, there's like real-time data, historical data, behavioral. And when you combine those into a single context, that's a really, let's say, at the same time a challenge and a huge opportunity for the whole industry, for all of us to actually make those things happen, where we can say that implementing of AI would be reliable. Yeah, so we can say that it is responsible, like people, yeah, who are hired to do some job. Companies paying people salary because they're responsible for the job they're doing. Yeah, and I hope to see that point of time, and we're also doing some things around it to actually say that yes, this AI tool is responsible, so it has a responsibility for the outcome. That's, from my point of view, is like the main goal where all this AI buzz should focus.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, we have the same, I think the same opinion. Is not the question is not if we are using AI in software engineering, yes or not. Is more like how we can integrate AI in development process and without any compromise in security, quality, and stuff like that. Um, I
Yeah,
think that would
but
be quite interesting topic for the next couple of months, maybe years. Because in at least in banks, it's I mean it's coming with a couple of challenges because the overall expectation, I mean from the conversation we had even with the stakeholders and different departments, so there is no doubt AI helps, but somehow the feeling is that it helps, but not completely, not entirely. I mean, you cannot say, okay, we can remove this type of human interaction and we put AI and problem solved. So somehow you need human in the loop. Not sure if it's good or bad, but this is one of the feeling that, or one of the idea that we saw in the last couple of interaction, that somehow the expectation is that the AI solve entirely everything, which is not the case. Obviously, there are a lot of area from detecting fraud in real time, monitoring transaction, score credit, all this type of even recently we were involved in AI initiatives to reduce manual handling of legal documents, enabling AI assisted document interpretation and data extraction to take some decision, but still there are cases in which this type of automatization need to be monitored.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
if you still need a human to double check or triple check,
yeah,
yeah, you still need those resources. But uh, That's a very, very good point. You can see like chatbots. Yeah,
Yeah.
chatbots is like a little bit dumb AI. Yeah, depending on how you train the model. But a good point of adoption for me is actually something that is dumb stupid. Okay, something that which I don't know, like you don't need some skills, some special knowledge or something, which can be easily trained and then adopted to AI. I don't know, like first level of support or something like that. Yeah, which parses your confluence, which is yeah. One of the JetBrains engineers at one conference said, like we treat our confluence or we name our confluence as an informational black hole because everybody puts some information in there, but no one can find. AI can help with that. That's a very good implementation. Yeah, and yeah, something very stupid, very small, like implementing chatbots, making them stronger and stronger. Implementing first level support. Yeah, so I'm having troubles with something. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can feed it your internal documents that you are not willing to expose, because if you're exposing something, and banks usually do not expose anything, yeah, so they're all
Yeah.
keeping it internal. But if you if you start feeding the data to the thing, it can help
Yeah. Totally agree.
to get rid of that black hole problem. Even Visa adopted it because in payment schemas, yeah, so they're huge companies with a lot of products, projects, everything, and it's a real struggle to find anything in their portal. Like, no way you will spend less than 2 hours finding a particular document, even if you know the name of it. So now they adopted it, and they created their own agent, feed it this agent all the data they have, and now it's easy, much easier. Like
Yeah.
now I need like 7 minutes to find something.
Yeah. Indeed. I was just thinking that one of the struggling that we encounter recently was how we can increase the accuracy of data and avoid hallucination. And at some flows we succeed to reach somewhere between 70 and 75% of accuracy. And it was a huge amount of work and effort to reach the 98, 99% of accuracy. And after a lot of ping pong conversation decision, we succeed to reach that limit, just avoiding to, let's say, to introduce AI everywhere. So there were a lot of conditional cases, and we decided to introduce, let's say, AI elements only when we consider being relevant, but not everywhere.
Yeah,
So
that's a very good point.
that will be interesting in software engineering, especially in the enterprise. I mean, large projects. Maybe an agentic capability might be a solution where you might have the possibility to create some sort of replica usage of a software engineering. Maybe creating prototype or components that you can reuse. But yeah, it's definitely a transformation of the let's say job description of what an engineer. I mean, the traditional separation between front end, back end analyst, and all this type of capability flavor. Shifting now to this AI usage of tools. It doesn't matter if it's a Copilot or Claude or
Yeah,
uh,
that reminded me. So if you remember when initially when internet was still 1.0, 2.0, so it was niche, or it was for us, for geeks. Yeah, at some point. So everybody was trying to create the websites, and they were paying to web studios. And then platforms like WordPress got into market. And everybody started saying, oh yeah, we don't need no more those website developers. We can do everything in WordPress. That's the future. You guys are rusty. That's cost too much. Here we now. We still have WordPress for those who need to use it. We still have front-end developers who are excellent at their jobs. We have a lot of, I don't know, like tell me, and even not 20, but 15, 10 years ago, that websites would be like this. You can use them as the applications that were not even existent for the desktop. Yeah. Yeah, I could have not imagined. And now we have AI also doing the same stuff. So trying to fit to implement it everywhere, yeah, it creates a chaos. Yeah, low accuracy, wasted tokens, and so on. But in the niche things, in some I know like exact tasks that with the deterministic, let's say, output, it's excellent. Yeah, as a WordPress to create a website for a small corner shop or something like that. Yeah. So of course, if you're a bank and you're using WordPress for a website, yeah, maybe it's not the best thing. But as an instrument, again, a hammer is also an instrument. Yeah. If you're trying to screw with a hammer, you have a bad time. Yeah, so the same goes with the AI. AI should
Yeah.
not be everything. It should be an instrument which engineers implement correctly to the places where it should be implemented.
Yeah, you're right. I was just thinking now, having in mind all that we already discussed, to return a bit back to the technical side, especially in the architecture of banking solution, of fintech solution. And to be honest, we had a previous conversation in which we were quite interesting conversation in terms of if you are designed from scratch an architecture, let's say a payment solution, what would be the top area to be considered? What do you think, Dmitry? What also considering AI and all the idea that we shared till now, what do
Yeah.
you consider being? Yeah,
Architecture is becoming more and more wide work from what I can see. Yeah, but for us, when like we're having talks with customers or something like that, we're starting with the basics. Okay, so architecture anyway for the digital products for the software, it starts with the infrastructure, and that's the place where we need to give our customers an independence. It's great to have everything running Kubernetes clusters in maybe even managed services. But again, we start with what customer wants, what customer has right now, and where he's experienced at. Yeah, because for us, it's crucial to support them in the best experience. So if we will give to some bank or fintech who before that was plain on the bare metal, a Kubernetes cluster and say, right, yeah, yalla, let's go. Let's do that. That would be a bad experience for them because you need correct people with the correct knowledge, with experience in that stuff, like how to fine tune that. So
yeah,
that's the ground floor, let's say, of infrastructure in terms of how we see it. Then on top of that, of course, you add particular software architecture. Okay, we'll go in with SOA architecture. For this feature, it can be just a standalone monolithic microservices. Yeah, because microservices is not a silver bullet. No, nobody already believes that. Yeah, so it was a buzzword for some time, like AI.
yeah,
But again, it's not a silver bullet. It's a good practice for particular tasks. Yeah, and when a task is simple, I don't know, like some independent stateless service, you don't need to microservice it. Yeah. So that's our, let's say, base. uh, from which we can start drawing the further details. Uh, but what do you see from architecture on your side? What are the things that people?
Well, I think banking systems are moving slowly towards platform architecture, maybe real-time processing and strong domain ownership. I mean, we see payments not being longer isolated system. They are deeply embedded in core banking processes, engineering decision. You need to take them quite early. Otherwise, you might have consequences years later in audit, in incident, and cost of change. So I think taking care of all this from the very beginning, uh, as you mentioned, quite important. I mean, we're talking about people money, so data consistency is quite important. Data integrity as well, to avoid duplication. All the system to be auditable. You need to know in every moment when something is wrong, where to go. That's why it's quite important to avoid the downtime, especially when we're talking about, security and scalability. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's 100%. But yeah, so making everything observable is like pretty much a must. Yeah, even for our customers who have not yet implemented things to observe, we strongly recommend it and like even ready to provide our experience because even as a vendor, yeah, so we don't have a production, let's
yeah,
say, yeah, because all of we have a lot of environments and they all are development or test environments and so on. But even having like 6, 7, 8 applications when you're making a complex scenarios, something is not working. Like where to search, how to understand those things. Yeah, so that's why like oh, even with something simple like open telemetry, yeah, it's very easy to implement on top of any Java application. You can also implement it for C Sharp for Windows platforms for if you have some legacy systems which are still using it. You can implement it pretty much everywhere. And now you have the full picture. Your
yeah.
engineers are not wasting time jumping from log to log to log to log or something like that. Uh, and it helps uh, not only from the let's say having the picture, but also it shrinks the time of troubleshooting. Yeah, because nobody cares about observability or something like that, like monitoring until everything is working fine. But if there's something, yeah, if there's something, you need to actually have a clear understanding and a fast, clear understanding where something happened. Yeah, and like best practices of the architecture, like circuit breaker pattern. Yeah, they can be implemented only when you really truly understand what happened, where should be this break, circuit break. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Good. I think we reached the time limit. Agreed before to have 30, 40 minutes of conversation. I think it was a very nice conversation with you. I know you very long time ago, and we get even the chance to collaborate in the past. Probably will be good if we still keep a couple of minutes for questions if anyone
I
wants to address
I
something.
I have a very small, but I think a very how to say important question that I'm asking all of my colleagues and all of our partners. So imagine if you would design a banking payment platform from the scratch today, what would be top three priorities that you would focus on?
Well, I I think there are more than three, but I think I've already mentioned. So when we talk about payments, we talk about money. So consistency is key. So this is I'll put in the first place. Then data integrity, I think as well, and well, security as well, scalability. I mean, yeah, I think those four is crucial for from my point of view. Even system availability, we encountered many times red alert when the entire system was down a couple of seconds. Um, but I think that will be in my perspective. But what about you?
Yeah,
What do you think?
pretty much the same that I've talked earlier. But there's one thing that because we were talking as tech guys mostly,
Yeah,
yeah. So the two tech guys talking technology, but I would say from my point of view nowadays, the first priority. So all the things that you named, the things that I told previously, they should be there. But the first priority, from what I can see right now, is ease of use of the thing that you made for all the parties, whatever it will be, merchants, consumers, officers, employees, someone else. So if we build a platform that is fast and resilient, but no one can use it, then we have a problem. And actually, we can see that those things in the market, even for huge players. I would not call the names, but they know about it, and people who are using those know about it. Like if I'm a merchant and I need to integrate payments, I don't need two PhDs and a doctorate in engineering to actually do that. Yeah, we should always, from my point of view, like consider all the things that we deliver as uh, as the things that will be used by non-tech guys, and that would hopefully help all the industry and no matter banks, PSPs, and so on.
yeah. Thank you. So let's go quickly to the Q&A section. And I see a question here related. Did you encounter issues related to finding individuals that has extensive knowledge in payments? Oh, yeah. So it's quite, at least for us, it's quite difficult. We primarily work, I mean, thinking to volume of work that we recently faced. This is type of role that it's asked quite often. I mean, usually coming from the technical analyst side of things, or let's say the role of business analyst. This is a must in job description to have a strong, very strong payment knowledge, and somehow we combine with the engineering knowledge, but finding type of expert, it's really hard, at least in the local market here in Romania. It's really difficult, I may say. What about you, Dimitri?
Yeah, for sure. And so the thing with the market itself is payment domain is so small. You meet all the guys with whom you used to work, I know, like 12 years ago, now on the other side of the planet, and you work together with them. And it happens constantly, like and even doesn't matter from which country to which country. So I don't know, I even met a guy from my university who is now in South Africa working, and we're still together in the payments field. So yeah, it is a struggle, but at the same time, because of that, let's say, um, community, or even like several handshakes, knowing each other, it can be overcame. So if you would go to just a job market, yeah, it would be absolute nightmare to find anyone with a good expertise. But
Yeah.
if you talk with your, I don't know, like LinkedIn community, with your ex-colleagues, I don't know, like message them through WhatsApp, or if you have some common groups, like it's actually becoming pretty simple, and you find very good people.
Yeah. Good. The next question is from Adrian. Most old major banks are stuck in AS400 because of the cost of moving to newer software in astronomical. Or the newer software is astronomical. What solution could fintechs come with to help unstuck banks?
I, I can take it first, you second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just
Okay.
thinking now how to answer.
I can give you some time to think. That's actually a common thing, like a very common thing, and it doesn't matter on a particular platform, or particular software, or a particular vendor. Yes, any companies with a history tend to stuck, and this is what I said from the first on the first topic. Yeah, it is about mindset. So enterprise software does not have to cost billions and billions. Yeah, and replacing some old software with some new software in the modern age, where there are a lot of the market is much wider, yeah, in terms of the vendors and providers right now. Maybe even trying proof of concept or MVP with some service as a service provider, so SaaS providers. It can unstuck you because, okay, now you have something to compare, and it did not hurt your wallet in terms of your, I mean, like a bank, or a big PSP, so some entity with the historical data. So if the top management has, or even someone from middle management, or even employees, can bring up that idea for little to not no money to try something as a proof of concept or MVP, that will not cost astronomical. That's I think an approach that can help.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I will have a smart answer on this just because I didn't encounter any type of real case to assist or to see in real life. We're not lucky enough, I would say. But what we saw in different banks that we are working with is that quite often now they tend to introduce new startups, new fintech that have a certain solution to a certain problem, so that they put together all this type of small solution for, I don't know, if we're talking about authorization or a certificate or authentication or whatever, OCR validation of the identity card, something like that. So they prefer to not necessarily develop from scratch internal using their internal capabilities, which probably will doesn't have enough knowledge or doesn't have enough capacity, or simply will take more to develop from scratch rather than I don't know, introducing a startup or a solution or a SaaS to solve a small particular issue, and they put together all this solution and potentially might have a significant, let's say, modernization, or how to say, acceleration in some particular flows. So that might be an option. So to split in a small, product that solves small functionality rather than developing everything from scratch or transitioning everything to a new technology.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Good. What change when your platform start handling significant higher volumes? This looks like a hiring interview question. Um,
Yeah, you
Well,
want to go with it? I can go with
yeah,
it.
I think that might be a scenario when you have concurrent requests hitting the same account balance, and probably optimistic locking start failing more often. And probably this is about, I don't know, maybe designing from scratch a very good um, retry logic to be quite clean, or maybe the conflict resolution is not explicit, so probably need to pay more attention on that. The other potential solution might be Kafka partitioning strategy, because usually we are using a key or one single identification like payment ID, which preserve the ordering of payments. And even what I was mentioning earlier, like being top three section to pay attention from the very beginning is audit trail. You need to have a possibility to identify the root cause very quickly, very rapidly. About retention, maybe also indexing or even a querying strategy to database might having a good strategy might be a good option. I presume there are others as well, but this is what brings in my mind right now. Dmitry?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So yeah, because so that's I feel like there's no point of saying like with modern days horizontal scaling capabilities to talk about, yeah, you need to implement horizontal scaling. It's by default. It should not be even like a question or a topic anymore. But the main points, as you said, it's the coordination. Yeah, so uh, when you have a lot of nodes, yeah, on in a horizontal scaled application, so you need to have yes, retries with backoffs, event tracking, concurrency controls, that word, idempotency, so the deterministic behavior, or when the message reaches something, unique identifiers to help with that. So yeah, it is about the designing the software architecture from the logic perspective. Yeah, so we were talking about the architecture itself, so from bare metal to like infrastructure to to applications, but then inside of the applications you still need to apply architectural approaches in terms of the logic flows and how it works.
Yeah. I see now in the list that Adriano already mentioned an example of UniCredit Serbia that did a feasible study in 2019 to move from AS400 to a newer solution. And I think they estimated being like 100 million cost, which of course the management dismissed. Yeah. I think there is another question from Valentin, which is a common friend. And I presume this is for you mostly, Dimitri, because as I mentioned from the beginning, we have more experience working with banks rather than fintechs. So can federated learning be applied on fintechs? There are some initiatives to be applied to banks through some national system, but what about fintechs, where there are no central entity that can coordinate something like that?
Uh, that's not particularly true. Depending on the, like we can say from country to country, there are central entities central banks which are implying all the same type of rules, no matter what you are and what you are doing in terms of are you a bank which only does credit, are you a processor, are you a fintech or a telco who start issuing the cards. So in general, as I said previously, rules are good. Yeah, which so all the initiatives that like regulatory providers are applying, they are applying those for good. And yeah, depending on the market, it can be like some more flexibility for smaller businesses, some less. But I would say the approach should be from any type of business to aim to be an enterprise and to be regulated. So to do the same things that are applied right now forcefully to a smaller businesses, smaller business or to bigger businesses, smaller businesses should think in that way no matter what, because at the end of the day they want to grow, and that will actually hit them. So better be prepared from the day one, implement best practices from the day one.
Yeah, right. Good. I think that's pretty much all. I would like to thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dmitry. Thank you, FinOn Technology, for the conversation. We hope this was really useful, and we're happy to continue this conversation after.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, for inviting Robert, Anka. Thank you guys for organizing this. Hope to hear from you in the next days. So we're very happy to work with you all the time. Thank you guys. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
evening. Bye
Bye.
bye.